You know what's really strange? We walk around thinking we're looking out at the world, like we're watching some movie through our eyeballs. But stop for a second and ask yourself this: who exactly is doing the looking? Think about a mirror for a moment. A perfect mirror has no color of its own, no particular shape, no hidden agenda. It doesn't struggle to reflect things. It doesn't resist reflection either. It just does what it does naturally. And here's the wild part: the world you see around you works exactly the same way. It's not showing you what's actually out there. It's showing you what you are, not what you think you are, mind you. Not that polite little personality you carry around, not the ego wrapped up in skin, but what you truly are underneath all that. The whole magnificent thing, the entire cosmos waking up in this moment and going, whoa, so this is what I look like when I'm being me. It's actually pretty hilarious when you think about it. Most people imagine they're in the universe like marbles rattling around in a box. But it's actually the other way around. The universe is pouring through you, filtered through your nervous system, translated by these strange organs called eyes. Just like your eyes can't see themselves, and your teeth can't take a bite out of themselves, you can't actually see you. All you get are reflections. The spark in someone else's eyes, the weird twist of events, the heartbreak, the belly laugh, the annoying traffic jam, the leaf spiraling down from a tree. All of it is you wearing different costumes. So the real question isn't whether the world reflects you. The question is whether you're brave enough to recognize yourself in it. Because when the mirror gets smudged and cracked, you look at the world and say, it's broken. But when the mirror is crystal clear, suddenly everything is shimmering, dancing, absurd, absolutely divine. What is the world, really? It's just your own face wearing 10,000 different masks. And if you smile at it, it just might smile right back at you. Let's get something straight right now. You don't actually see reality. You call it into being. What you think of as the real world, that solid objective thing sitting over there, is nothing more than a wild conversation between you and everything else. It's not a static thing. It's a dance, not a noun sitting still, but a verb in constant motion. Think about it. A rock isn't hard unless there's a hand there to touch it. The sun isn't bright unless there's an eye to see its light. Without skin, fire has no heat. Without ears, thunder makes no noise whatsoever. So all those qualities you take completely for granted as existing out there in the world, hardness, heat, brightness, sound, are actually echoes of your own structure bouncing back at you. In other words, you're creating the sun, you're creating the rain, you're creating the distance between your chair and the moon hanging in the sky. Because without you, there's no concept of far or near, no up or down, no color, no time ticking away. It's all relationship, all connection. When you start to really get this, truly notice it, the world becomes slippery. Because you can no longer pretend you're just some neutral observer standing on the sidelines. You're participating, you're part of the paint and part of the painting at the same time. There isn't a world happening to you like some accident. There's only a world happening with you. A world that rises up to meet the exact shape of your mind. So when you look out at mountains, cities, clouds, the beautiful mess, the everyday miracle, you're not just seeing the world, you're seeing your relationship to it. If everything you see is always cruel, always gray, always missing something, you have to ask yourself an uncomfortable question. Is it the world that's dull and lifeless? Or is it simply the angle at which your mirror has been tilted? So here we are. You, the observer, the one tucked inside, staring out through these weird little holes in your face called eyes, watching the world roll by like scenery outside a train window. But here's where it gets interesting. You're not actually watching the show. You are the show watching itself. The separation between the subject and the object, between the knower and the known. It's a gorgeous illusion, one that makes the cosmic dance feel like a duet, when it's really just a solo performance wearing two masks at once. Try to find where the observer stops, and the observed thing begins. Go ahead, try, you can't do it. They show up together, like front and back, like breathing in and breathing out. Can you have one without the other? Of course not. When you see a whirlpool spinning in a river, you might point and say, look, there's a thing, but if you come back the next day, it's not the same whirlpool at all, because there never was a whirlpool to begin with. There was only whirlpooling, the action, the verb. In exactly the same way, you're not a thing either. You're a process, a constant dancing of the universe at one specific point where it decided to look at itself through this particular being. And that being, quite mistakenly, started thinking of itself as an island floating alone. But listen, there are no islands. There are only coastlines, in motion, only the sea playing with shapes for a while. Now let's talk about mirrors for a moment. A mirror is a weird object when you think about it. It shows you everything, yet it has no image of its own whatsoever. It receives, comes to it, but it doesn't cling to anything. It reflects, but it never judges. It doesn't say, oh, I like that face, but that other one is ugly. It doesn't try to fix your hair or tell you to stand differently. It doesn't hold on to yesterday's reflection or worry about tomorrow's smile. It's simply clear, simply open. And this is exactly how the mind works when it stops clinging, stops grasping, stops editing every experience to fit its little story of me and my life. The Taoist sages said something beautiful about this. They said, the highest kind of person uses their mind like a mirror. It grabs nothing, it pushes nothing away. It receives everything but keeps nothing. Picture this. When wild geese fly over a lake, their reflection appears perfectly in the water below. But the geese don't intend to cast a reflection. They're not trying to leave their mark. And the water has no desire to hold on to their image. The reflection just happens, and then it's gone. That right there, that's freedom. But we humans, we tend to treat our minds not like mirrors, but like scrapbooks. We're constantly snapping mental photos, holding on to old wounds, comparing ourselves to others, editing our memories, deleting uncomfortable truths, as if life were some story we're supposed to get exactly right instead of a song we forgot we were singing all along. But what would happen if you just stopped? What if you let each moment pass through you like light moving through glass? What if you released your grip on the need to comment on everything, to control everything, to correct everything? Then your mind becomes like a mirror again. And in that still, silent surface, you might finally catch a glimpse of the one who was always there all along. Not someone watching life from a distance, but someone being life itself. Here's a funny thing about searching. The harder you try to find yourself, the more you seem to vanish into thin air. Go ahead, try it right now. Try to grab hold of who you really are. Not your name, not your job title, not your thoughts or your opinions. Those are just clothes hanging on a rack. Go deeper than the mask you wear. Slip beneath the bones. Dive under your breath. Go behind the part of you that watches your own thoughts. There's nobody there, is there? And yet something definitely is. Something watches without making commentary. Something feels without jerking away. It was there when you were 5 years old, and it's still there now. But it has no age, no face, no voice that speaks. It just is. You say, I think, but can you actually locate the thinker? You say, I feel, but where exactly is this feeler? The more honestly you look, the more you realize that the one doing the searching is also the thing being searched for. It's like trying to bite your own teeth. Impossible, absurd. And this isn't some kind of failure or mistake. It's the whole joke, the divine prank. The universe is pretending not to know itself so it can experience the thrill of finding out. The self isn't some tiny thing tucked inside a body, peering out through eye holes. The body is the world folding inward, and what you call I is simply how it feels to be that particular fold in reality. So you see, it's not that you're located somewhere in the universe. You are what the universe is doing right here, right now, in this bizarre and beautiful shape. There's something absolutely extraordinary about silence. Not the absence of sound, but the silence that hums inside every noise. The silence that isn't empty at all, but so completely full it spills over into form and shape. like a mirror reflecting everything while remaining untouched, like space itself, holding stars and music and bones and laughter without ever clinging to any of it. That silence isn't separate from you. It's not some special state you have to enter through meditation or technique. It's what remains when all your mental commentary finally shuts up. When your mind forgets to label things and the world forgets to explain itself, and suddenly, there it is. Not peace as some achievement you earned, not stillness as some effort you made, but a kind of listening that somehow listens to nothing and everything simultaneously. There's an old story about a wise man named Vimalakirti. When people asked him to explain the void, to describe emptiness, he didn't write a beautiful poem. He didn't offer some clever theory. He said absolutely nothing. And in that nothing, the entire room thundered with understanding. Because silence isn't the opposite of speech. It's the source of it, the mother of all words, the womb where all worlds are born. And when you touch it, not with your hands, not even with your mind, but with your entire being, you realize something strange. You don't need to fix all the noise around you. You don't need to run away from the chaos. You don't need to force your thoughts to be quiet. You just stop fighting. And like morning mist, when the sun warms it, everything dissolves, leaving behind not answers, not religious doctrines, but this weird echoing presence that has no name because it never needed one to begin with. If you sit very still and just look, not at any particular object, but just look openly, you'll start noticing something odd. There's no clear edge between you and what you're seeing. At first it seems completely obvious. There's the world over there, and here you are over here. You, the observer, the one looking, the thinker, the feeler, that familiar sensation of being tucked away somewhere inside, watching through the windows of your eyes. But the more clearly you observe, without judgment, the more this boundary starts to get fuzzy and uncertain. It's not that the world vanishes, rather it begins to echo you back to yourself. And you might notice something gently startling. Everything shifts depending on the mood you bring to it. When you're tense and anxious, the trees look sharp and threatening. When you're relaxed and at ease, even the cracks in the sidewalk have a certain charm to them. You walk into a room expecting people to be cold, and somehow you find coldness waiting for you there. You expect things to be difficult and resistant, and mysteriously everything pushes back against you. This isn't some mystical nonsense or magic trick. It's participation, relationship, connection. There's no such thing as a reflection appearing without a surface to catch it. No such thing as a smile in the mirror unless there's a smile on the face standing in front of it. So if what you constantly see is always bitter, always broken, always missing something crucial, the mirror isn't doing anything except showing you your own face as it actually is. Of course, the mirror doesn't hold on to the image once you walk away. It doesn't judge what it reflects. It doesn't edit or Photoshop anything. It simply reflects perfectly, precisely, instantly, without any delay or distortion. You say to yourself, but I want the world to love me back. Well then, start the echo yourself. Because the mirror isn't just out there in the world somewhere. It's here, inside you. It's everywhere you look. And it's patiently waiting for you to recognize it. No special effort required. No secret technique to learn. No trick to master. Think about wild geese flying across a still lake. They cast their reflection on the water's surface. The water doesn't plan ahead to hold their image. The geese don't deliberately try to leave it behind as they pass. This is simply how it works. Everything moves. Everything reflects. Nothing clings. It's only when we start grasping desperately, insisting stubbornly, demanding frantically, that the surface gets distorted and warped. To be at peace with the mirror is to no longer need it to flatter you, to no longer beg it to show you something different than what's true. And when that happens, when there's no more need for performance or pretending, you might catch something very briefly, just a quick glimpse of something incredibly quiet looking back at you. Not a voice speaking, not a thought forming, not even a person standing there. just presence, pure and simple. That is you, not the you that you usually talk about or think about, not the name on your ID, not the role you play at work or home, not the one who signs important documents and rehearses arguments in the shower. Something much deeper than all that, the same awareness that was already there before you learned your name, before your life story began, before anyone told you who you were supposed to become. It's been sitting there the entire time, silent, completely still, totally unconcerned, watching the whole wild show unfold like a dream playing across a screen. It has no opinion about what happens. It has no ambition driving it forward. It simply exists, simply is. And here's the thing. It cannot be seen because it is the seeing itself. It cannot be grasped because it is what does the grasping. It's what the ancient Upanishads called thou art. The recognition that the universe, all of it, every single piece, rises up within you the way sound rises from a bell when struck, the way light appears in the eye when opened. You do not live inside the world like a person lives in a house. The world happens inside you, within your awareness. When the wave finally knows it's made of ocean, it stops fearing the crash onto shore. When the dancer realizes they are the dance itself, there's no more desperate need for applause from the audience. And when you remember, not as some belief you're supposed to accept, but as a knowing that sits beneath all knowing, that you were never outside this experience, never truly separate, never actually lacking anything, then the whole game becomes beautifully, hilariously transparent. The music keeps playing, the shapes keep shifting and changing, the story continues to evolve and develop, but the silence underneath all the music, the deep stillness within all the motion, that remains completely unchanged, untouched, perfect, as it always was. That stillness is not some terrifying void to run away from. It is absolute fullness, complete abundance. It is the mirror with no dust covering it, the sky with no clouds blocking it, the awareness with no face hiding it. And if from time to time you forget all this, and you will forget because forgetting is actually part of the whole process of remembering, the mirror will still be right there, patiently reflecting. Because the face it shows you is never actually missing. And the one who's been looking all this time, searching high and low, was simply the act of looking itself, wearing a disguise, playing hide and seek with itself, pretending to be lost so it could experience the joy of being found.